don't know why he switches vocabulary here. At the top of 271, he says, other uses of the pivot, major minor 7. Does anybody remember that's what some places call what?
The secondary dominant.
Secondary
Yes.
dominant. So it's the quality of a dominant 7. So what they're trying to say is a major triad with a minor 7. And that's not a bad way to remember it. So you're in some key, like the key of C, but you see a triad that's B, D sharp, F sharp, A, doesn't belong in the key of C, but you say, well, what's the quality? Well, it's a major triad with a minor 7. Therefore, that would be a 5-7 of 3. So other uses of the pivot, this is the 5-7, oh, no, I'm sorry. We can actually go through this pretty quickly. Here's what he's doing. He has already said at the beginning of the chapter, there are only 3 of these used for modulation. There's a German 6 that becomes a dominant 7, there's a dominant 7 that's respelled as a German 6, and there's a 5-7 of 4 that's respelled as a German 6. And for all practical purposes, believe it. But what he wants to do now is cover his bases, because everybody who writes a textbook gets letters from people saying, yes, but what about what so-and-so did in this piece? So he's really going to talk about some really rare instances where somebody tried something else and it didn't work because they only did it once, but he kind of wants to cover his base. So he gives an example. Now this is Beethoven, so we're going to take this pretty seriously, but Beethoven, if you look in the middle system, is in D minor. He uses a 5-7 of 6. That is not one of the ones we looked at. This is 5-7 of 6. Respells it as a German 6 and goes to A minor. So this was an experiment that Beethoven tried. Can you use another secondary dominant and respell it? Well, evidently Beethoven didn't like this because this is the only time he did this. But he tried it, and maybe when he wrote it he liked it, but later he listened to it and went, because he never used it again. But all the book is saying is that occasionally in a blue moon you may find someone trying some other secondary dominant 7 and respelling it as a German 6. And you're free to try it yourself, but it will be very difficult to get it to flow. Now, take a look at the 2 keys that Beethoven, where he came from and where he went. It started in D minor and he's modulating to A minor. Why do you think he went to all this trouble? Isn't that an easy modulation?
5/5, yeah.
Yeah. All you need is 5 of 5, and then you use that as your pivot. So what do you think Beethoven was after? Why do you think he, or something easily like a fifth?
Why do you mention a particular fashion of moving in thirds or fourths?
Well, you had it better with a particular fashion.
Emphasis on the specific triad.
Could be. How many pieces has Beethoven written? 32 piano sonatas, 9 symphonies, almost 125 string quartets, something like that. So he's probably looking, here's an easy modulation, up a fifth, but he wants to do it in a way that he's never used before. So that's pretty much probably what he's after. That would be, I mean, he could do that modulation blindfolded, but he was probably looking for a new innovative way to modulate a fifth. So, you know, you don't really have to study this page. It's more like, well, he tried that. The next page, let's see, here's something, let's see, other modulations. You'll occasionally encounter modulation in which a German 6 is involved, but not as a pivot. And why is he saying modulation? Okay, let's see. All right. This would be easier to say, can you tonicize a German 6 or an Italian 6 or a French 6? Because Chopin is in G flat major, and he tonicizes the dominant for a while and uses an Italian 6 in there. So How do we know he's tonicizing something? Well, if you were analyzing this piece of music, you'd say, I'm in G flat major, but when you analyze that chord with the B double flat, you'd end up going, well, it looks like an Italian sixth, but it's not an Italian sixth in G flat. And then you'd say, well, what is it in Italian sixth then? It's an Italian sixth in D flat. So there, maybe he's either modulated or he's tonicizing D flat. So that's what's happening here. He's using an augmented sixth chord to tonicize. So once again, this is just kind of a little look at this. He's just saying a few very rare instances of other uses of the augmented sixth chord. And then top of page 273, Haydn is in the key of B. He's modulating to C sharp. That's a whole step above B with a German sixth. So how is he doing that? Let's see. Oh, that's clever. Oh, okay, hold on. All right, I just saw it. He's starting in the key of B, and he's going to C sharp minor, using the German sixth in C sharp minor. So, somebody read out the notes for that. What's he using for the German sixth in C sharp minor? There's a C sharp,
A C sharp, an A natural.
E natural,
Yes, an E natural and an A natural.
A natural, all right. And
A
the raised
G.
4 would be the raised 4 in there, a G or a...
There's also a G,
sharp.
yeah.
A G, okay. So that's actually F double sharp in C sharp minor would be the raised 4. But he's writing it as a G. All right. What is that in the key of B? Okay, so this is a German sixth in C sharp minor. And where does he take it? Does it go where it's supposed to go? Yeah, 16451. All right. Now, what is this in the key of B? He's coming from the key of B, so we're...
Alluding to, it's an A major, A7.
Okay, so A, C sharp, E, G. Now, that would be a dominant seventh of something built on what?
D.
D.
Which is 6.
So, let's see, if we're in B, that would be a 5 of a flat 3. Because in the key B, we have a raised 3. Is that, yeah, 5 of flat 3. So a lower 3. So for a minute there, I thought it was the 5 of the Neapolitan, which would have been much more clever. But that's all right. Just to kind of show, I don't know if you want to say the genius of Haydn or whatever, but that's the chromatic third relationship that the late Romantics got involved in. So Haydn was ahead of the game. Haydn was classical, absolutely. But he used some of that, little bits and pieces here. So he was way ahead of his time with something close. So we'd have to analyze that pivot as a 5 of a flat 3 in B going to a German 6 in C sharp minor. And once again, that's not the norm. These are just really rare instances so far. 4 really rare instances of other uses of this. Spelling the augmented 6 pivot chord. Okay, he's just mapping out how you would, we did this before though, how you would respell the German